Hey guys, Dark Humility here. You can always catch me at www.twitch.tv/Dark Humility for 6 to 7 days, usually, of Diablo 2 action of all kinds. Today, chat and YouTube, we have a special video where we are going to go over everything we have observed in D2R as quickly and succinctly as possible. So we're just going to kind of just fire away at these thoughts. No BS, no nothing. We're just going to go through it. So we're going to start with the good stuff, the bugs, the gripes, things that, I kind of don't like, wish were maybe a little bit different, maybe things they can improve. And then the major concerns, major stuff of the community, just kind of going to go over these quick topics. Pretty quick, but I'm just going to talk about it briefly so, can kind of understand where I'm coming from. And then my overall assessment of D2R as a whole at the end. Now, of course, we're going to be playing D2R September 23rd Hardcore Group Found, so you can catch me live doing that with the community. It's going to be sick. It's going to be fun. Good stuff. Now, you guys, I didn't just kind of play the beta. I didn't just play a little bit. You can see over here we've got an incredible list of characters here. 8. Can't even count. 8 characters, level 30 plus. That's how many tomb runs we did. Including a level 33. I made multiple PvP characters. I made skill showcase characters. I looked at every single skill. I looked at everything. So I'm not just talking off the cuff. We did a lot of stuff. We looked at a lot of stuff. There's definitely, I don't think we discovered every single bug that everyone else discovered necessarily, because some people do some game breaking testing, but I didn't do as much of that. So let's kind of just go over what we thought was good with D2R to start. All right, it's kind of just hammered away. No BS. Let's go. All right. The thing I like most about D2R, period, are the environment and the areas. The environment and the areas. So the environment inside the game is freaking beautiful. Everything has been made so carefully well, and it has such high fidelity to the original game, or at least the intention of the original game. They paid a lot of attention to detail. It's very clear that the art team from Vicarious Visions did an incredible job. Absolutely. It's just absolutely beautiful stuff. The next thing that I like for the most part is that it plays mostly the same, almost exactly the same, 99% as the original game, and you can literally switch back and forth from that to the legacy mode, and you can really see it plays exactly the same. The game feels the same. I play vanilla D2, I play other mods all day, and then I go to D2R beta, and it feels like I'm still playing the same game. There's not much of a difference at all. There might be a couple of bug fixes, which we're going to get into here, where they implemented some things into 1.15, so they updated it. It's not 1.14 anymore. It's pretty clear that they did make some changes to the actual game. But they're not huge ones, and the game still plays the same. Period. Alright. Saved key bindings. So, I really like that.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Got it. Hey, thank you so much for the follow. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much for the follows, guys. If I hear it, GG stuff. Follow alert OP. Alright. So we got save key bindings. So I really like that you can save a set of key bindings. You can save a custom set and then reload it on any new character you create. That's actually a really cool thing that I like. So you can actually save it in the options, and then you can reload it when you make a new character. That's a really cool thing. One thing I like is that when the game, now this might sound kind of weird, but when the game disconnects, when the server just farts and dies, I like how the game just disconnects you instantly. You're not seeing the monsters running in place or anything. It just says you're disconnected, and then you're ejected from the game. I actually really like that. There's a lot of, in original D2 and whatnot, sometimes you won't know if you're disconnected for a while, and that could kill you, you know. But I just like how you're just like instantly you're just disconnected and you leave the game. It's kind of neat actually. Yeah, that is good for hardcore. It is. You're just instantly disconnected and you're out of the game. You're just ejected. I kind of like that. That's really nice. Being able to pick up items with the right click. It's actually kind of cool. You can, as long as you're not using a skill that just auto fires on right click, you can pick up items on right click. That's really cool stuff. I like that freedom to do that, and you can kind of slurp up items with some characters that use right click. That's kind of neat. You gotta be careful though what kinds of things you pick up. So that can be a good or a bad thing sometimes. So you just gotta be careful like how you use that. But it's pretty neat. Auto gold. I love the auto gold pickup option. I think it's awesome. It actually makes use of those useless piles of gold you would never actually pick up. That's definitely something that I've learned from the beta that is insanely awesome. It's just you just get all this passive gold and you can actually use it to gamble, and the gambling's better too, but we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, yeah. So being able to pick up items,
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
I like it also how they were smart and made it to where you don't auto pick up the gold on a character death. So let's say someone in your party dies, you don't automatically pick up their giant pile of gold so that they can still pick it up. So they actually don't put that gold on auto pickup. That's actually smart. They did it very well. One-to-one item design on the character. So the items... The design of the item, like Twitch Throw, looks green on your character. It's just beautiful. Honestly, the item one-to-one on a character. This is like one of my top 3 favorite things about D2R. Just crazy stuff. Crazy. It is absolutely insane. The one-to-one ratio of the graphics of the items to the look on the actual character model is just stunning. They do such a great job, in every single item that's going to be like unique or just has gems in it is going to make you just want to try everything. It's just they did so much work on that, and it really shows. 3 shared stash pages. This is the only version of Diablo 2 in all of Diablo 2's history where a shared stash exists inside of multiplayer. So you don't have to drop items on the ground and risk a server disconnect, ripping your items, destroying them when you're trying to mule them. No, all you gotta do is toss them into the shared stash and then get on another character and pull them off the shared stash. You can make a new character and pull them out of the shared stash too just fine. You will never again have to risk your items to the mercy of the server when you're muling them. You still have to mule them because, there's not infinite space, but there's a lot more space in the stash. And you can just put them in 3 shared stash tabs, mind you, and then you can put them away. That's really good stuff. Gamble reroll function. Oh man, gambling has never been made better with auto gold pickup plus rerolling gambling. There's a button, you just press it and you automatically reroll it, and you can just keep gambling the same base, and you can really gambling is honestly like. Gambling was like kind of a niche thing, I think, in the original game, but I think this is actually a good thing because now, like, gambling, like, people might actually want to just do that. It's actually pretty sick. I don't have anything bad to say about that at all. Zoom feature. You can scroll in, scroll out. You can just press F, zoom all the way in. You can play all the way zoomed out. Zooming is amazing in D2R. Amazing. I love the zoom function. I think it's really cool, and it really allows you to like look at the details. So there's a lot of detail in this game. The graphics are amazing, of course, and you can really like take in the details of the character models as well, like for the one-to-one item design on the character and whatnot. It's just really good stuff. Really good stuff. Pasting items in the chat is genius. So you can literally copy an item with a set of hotkeys. I believe it's left click control if I remember correctly. And then you can do that, and then you can press enter, and then it'll paste into the chat as long as you have the chat open, and then it will just press enter, and then everyone can see the item. You don't have to show them in the trade window. You don't have to drop it on the ground. You can literally just show them, and then they can hover over it. They can click on the item, and they can see exactly what it is. That is actually really sick functionality there. That's some really good stuff. That is yeah, gambling. You can, there's a reroll button, so you can just keep rerolling it over and over. Fenrir, it's really cool. Really cool stuff. Lots of gameplay options. So there's a lot of like options like turning off like auto party off. There's just a lot of good options inside of the gameplay menu. Like you could toggle auto gold. There's just so many good stuff as well. Even when you create a game, you can have it, the item spacing be better so that the items don't stack directly on top of each other, so that they're not so you can actually see what drops on the ground, like when you open a super chest, for instance, and all the items drop instantly. They'll spread around, and it also makes it easier for more people to pick them up because they're not all clumped in one spot. That's all really good stuff. There's just all a lot of really good stuff in general. Beautiful stuff. You guys are going crazy in there. I see it. I see it. All right. So another thing that I really enjoy is an announcement. It's not related to testing. It's not related to my experience with D2R so far. It's the fact that single player and non-ladder are getting ladder content.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
I gotta say, you know, getting the Ubers and the D clone, Diablo clone, the Pandemonium event, Nihilist Torch, whatever, and all of the ladder items and all of the ladder rune words and everything on single player on non-ladder is huge. That's really good. I don't think the reason people play ladder is because they're getting special items. They play ladder because they like the competitive feel. They like starting fresh. That's why people play ladder. They didn't play ladder for that special stuff anyway. And I think, you know, some people don't have the time to play ladder, right? They don't have enough time to dedicate in any given 4 months. So, like, to them, they want to be able to play, you know, a character maybe long term, and to be able to experience all of the content on non-ladder is amazing. On single player, it's the same. With a shared stash plus all of that, there's a very popular mod called Pluggy, if you don't already know, that does a lot of that on vanilla LOD, and you can just load that up and have like a shared stash and all of the ladder content on single player. Well, you don't even really need Pluggy anymore on Resurrected. I mean, I'm sure there's a way Pluggy could still enhance the game maybe, but with all that stuff added, the base stuff that Pluggy really offered is not really needed. I mean, I'm sure there's definitely some functionalities people really like from Pluggy they're probably not going to have on there, but it really isn't needed anymore. And that's good. You know, that's good. People can have a much more genuine, I would say, single player experience just from that alone. That's just really good stuff. And then, of course, you know, the best thing about D2R that I observed is the chat gyms sounds like a slot machine. Are you addicted yet? Are you mesmerized? Okay. Anyway, I'm done. All right. Anyway, so that's you know, all right. That's pretty much it for my really good points, and that's a lot of really good points. And, you know, there's more good things I could say. You know, like, most of the character models look amazing. The monsters look amazing. The monster models look amazing. Honestly, really, almost all the artwork and graphics, like, look amazing for the most part. But, of course, we're going to go over some exceptions to that and things that I think should be good. Alright. Alright, so let's go over some bugs. These things are pretty easy. It kind of just list these things we encountered. Things that, you know, I thought were kind of interesting over the course of the beta. Dude.
Colon D.
NoahFix, you are a legend. Chat, spam those eyes of Xana in the chat for NoahFix. 3 months. Let's freaking go. Alright. Yep. Xana Gym. Xana Gym! It is a chat gym. It is the gym. Alright. Sound effects persisting and blowing out eardrums. So this is very common when you kill beetles, for instance, or open up doors. There'll just be a sound just whooshing in your ear, and it just persists for like 5 to 10 seconds. There's a lot of instances of this, and there's actually one instance where the sound lasted forever. You actually couldn't get rid of it, even when you created a new game and went into the lobby. I had to actually close out of the whole client and restart the game completely from the Battle.net client in order to make the sound stop. So there's quite a few of those sound bugs. I mean, it's nothing too major, but that one that like persisted, even though I closed out of the game and went into a new game, that was pretty bad. I think that was from Duriel actually, so that was kind of that was an interesting one. I killed Duriel, and then there's just a sound that just kept going on. It had something to do with killing Duriel. It only happened once though, so some of these bugs they're very inconsistent. You never know when it's gonna happen. Leap frozen. So yeah, freezing everything in place and being unable to attack or do anything after using leap. That's definitely was a pretty bad one. You had to completely close out of the game and re-enter it using leap on the barbarian. In-game chat. Okay, so the in-game chat might be one of the most buggy things that I encountered in the beta, just period. Sometimes you will hover over an item that is pasted into the chat and it will display the wrong item. You will try to talk and it won't talk at all. It won't show your name in a lot of cases. You can't copy paste anything from the chat. You can't like message your friends from the chat. I don't know. The chat's just like, it's so inconsistent and it's really tiny and it's hard to read. But anyway, I'll go over that a bit later. That's more of a gripe. But anyway, there's definitely some real problems with the chat. It doesn't always work. That's basically all you gotta know. Alright, yeah, there's just a lot of bugs. Random crashes. Okay, it seemed like if you went really fast or used waypoints sometimes, or did some other random things, it was the case also like if you switched between legacy toggle in the game, like switch between legacy mode and the original mode, it would crash a lot. Well, that one is kind of mostly fixed. I mean, that one, I haven't really seen that one happen. I haven't seen a crash related to that, but I did see that initially in the beginning of beta. Once open beta came live, that crash was no longer a thing. Alright, but yeah, anyway, there's just a lot of crashes, so there's definitely a lot of things that can crash a game. Even after they launched open beta, I was still crashing here and there, but in closed beta it was definitely crashing way more, so that's already improved quite a bit. But I was definitely crashing a lot in closed beta. Now it's crashing maybe like once in a while. There's definitely still some pretty serious crash bugs though in the game that just randomly crash you for whatever reason. It could be anything almost. Alright. Weapon swap bug. Alright, so this isn't really a bug, but this is kind of a commentary on the fact that there's a lot of bugs that existed in the original game, like weapon swap bug, ethereal bug, and other bugs.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
They don't work anymore. They changed them in some way. Now I think they look intentional. Like the weapon swap one looks 100% intentional. It looks like they made it to where no matter what, if you put a weapon in your left-hand slot on the barbarian, you always are going to be using that weapon. You cannot switch hands by re-equipping a right-hand weapon. It's still always going to be your right-hand weapon, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think that's intentional to prevent confusion and prevent maybe an abusable bug. At the same time, though, those bugs were used to enhance the power of physical damage characters in PvP. They were used to enhance their playability in the late game. I almost think maybe some power needs to be put back into the barbarian to compensate for that, but I really don't know where to go with that. Ethereal bugging is one of those bugs that's like really iconic, but I don't really mind that if it's taken out. It just makes mercenaries slightly weaker in the endgame. It's a really cool way to, you know, give your armors and whatnot extra defense, but I could see why they would take it out. I mean, it makes it to where superior armors that are ethereal are worse than like an armor that used the cube recipe on an armor. the perfect topaz tau full recipe on an armor, for instance. That's how you can ethereal bug an armor. So if a armor is plain ethereal and you use that recipe, it'll actually apply um, the ethereal bonus to it twice. That does not appear to be working. So there's definitely some things that they changed in the game. And I don't know if they're bad things, but they're definitely things that used to be bugs and they're gone. We don't actually know all the ones that they changed because we can't see them. Like, we can't see whether or not they fixed Ancients because we weren't able to get to Act 5. Beta was only 1 and 2 acts, so we don't actually know. Alright, anyway, there you go. Relog. Okay, so I noticed there appears to be a bug where your games sometimes don't appear in the lobby, just randomly upon first entering the game. You might actually have to relog in order for your games to appear in the lobby. We tested this because sometimes I'd make public games and they just straight up wouldn't appear in the lobby at all under any circumstances unless I relogged and then started making games again. That was kind of bad. There's definitely some serious lobby issues, but we'll kind of go over that in a second. Alright, no party hostile sound effects. I don't know if this is a bug or what it is, but the sound effects are either very spotty or otherwise, but it's really hard to tell when someone is partying you or hostiling you or what the heck they're doing in the game. When they get in the game, you don't see them really entering the game. It doesn't say they joined the game in most cases. It just says they joined your party. Yeah, I feel like that was way more clear in the original version of the game, and maybe some of that clarity needs to be brought back, but I don't know if it's a bug or what. Visual bugs. So there's some bugs like the flashing map. Sometimes the map parts of it will like turn white randomly. Sometimes there'll be like little lightning flashes across the screen randomly. And on the volcano on the druid, for instance, that's just one example of an unfinished ability where there's like particle boxes around it. So there's just some visual bugs floating around. Those aren't insanely serious, but yeah. In the closed beta, at least, there was loading screens sometimes when I would teleport. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I know that when I was teleporting on this character right here, it would sometimes I'd actually encounter a loading screen in the middle of a teleport, which was kind of scary, actually. I was like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden it would load me, and then it'd appear outside the other side. I'm not sure. It didn't happen all the time or anything. It was very rare, but sometimes you would actually see that. I don't know if they fixed that or not, though, but that's definitely something that you probably should fix. And rubber banding. Rubber banding is a pretty major issue. Definitely a lot of that. Like, when you collide with monsters or collide with players or collide with walls, in general, the pathing was kind of bad, so sometimes it would just path you back into the monsters. That could be very dangerous, especially for hardcore or trying to get to 99 when you can't lose that experience. Pathing back into dangerous monsters could be very bad. It seems like moving past stuff in general was pretty difficult, and the game had a tendency of, if you tried to move past stuff, you would just get rubber banded back to the original location. So that was a bit bad. All right. I think they fixed most of these. In the closed beta, though, I observed a lot of trade screen crashes. But one thing that's still broken about the trade screen is that someone can exit the trade screen, and it's possible for you to have an item in your hand and then drop it on the ground on accident, thinking you're about to put it in the trade screen if someone exits out of the trade screen. That's kind of bad. That means that someone could exit out of the trade screen, and you think you're going to drop it into the trade screen, but then the item ends up dropping on the ground, and then someone could pick it up. That's actually a bad one. There was a lot of other problems with the trade screen before, too. There doesn't appear to be as many of them anymore at the end of the open beta, but that one's still there. That one still happens sometimes. It looks like they removed some instances of that, but there's still some instances of that, and I remember testing that pretty recently. Yeah, that's not good at all. And then inventory caused... Oh, yeah, so this is an issue in the closed beta. We don't have to worry about this. The inventory was causing FPS drops in the stash and whatnot, but not anymore. They fixed those. All right, so there's a lot of other bugs, of course, we encountered, but that was a pretty good summary of some pretty major stuff that was encountered. So that's kind of like what I encountered there. All right, great. So we started out really feel good and whatnot with some really insanely awesome things about D2R. But now let's go into some things that I think need to be improved or otherwise are just not quite where I think they maybe should be. All right. First one, entrances and exits on minimap. You can't see them. They're practically invisible, and actually it really takes me aback because I'm used to using the minimap as a tool to guide me towards where the entrances are, and it's really hard to see them, especially on low opacity. Um, oh god, I can't see them at all. Like you just can't even see where the entrances and exits are on the map. They really need to be more well defined. That's actually something I think is really nasty. They definitely should improve this 100%. That's actually something 100% I'm going to say straight up needs to be improved. That's why it's at the top of the list. It's really hard to see this stuff. No one can see doors. Nope. Nope, you're just trapped in there. It's just an endless labyrinth. Every map is an endless labyrinth, and so when you press tab or you put your mini map somewhere, you just can't tell how to get out or how to get in. That's going to be really frustrating for new players, especially players that, aren't used to the structure of the maps. Like, at least I know kind of how the maps look, so I can at least think, oh, okay, well, I kind of know where it is, but I still have to, my eyes still have to, look for the tile of the map where I know the entrance is, and it's still hard because it doesn't stand out at you, so, even for a veteran player, that's kind of rough. That's just bad, bro. This is bad. All right, no tab functionality for game name, pass, or enter. Okay, so this is the most annoying thing in the universe. I guess I could just demo this real quick in the lobby, because why not? So if I make a game, I can't press the tab button to enter the password. That's definitely... When can you not use the tab button to, move down? That's something I feel like needs to... They need to add that at the very least before they release it. That's so frustrating. You can't do... You have to, manually click it. And then there's, You can't press enter either. So if I press enter... Normally, you can press enter in normal Battle.net or anywhere else. I cannot create the game by pressing enter. Another thing you might notice is that no matter what, even if I change this to say no level difference, if I go in and out of the game, it will reset this to what is not my preference. And I can't choose what my preference is here. Yeah, there's just a lot of janky stuff going on in the lobby in general. Another thing is that you can't search, so there's no filter. Or you can't filter the games by any kind of search mechanism. It's really Stone Age stuff. This is more Stone Age than the 20-year-old Battle.net that we were used to using for D2. This is the most Stone Age lobby I've ever seen. That's a gripe for sure. This is so primitive. It's almost as if they built out the bare structure of it and just haven't had enough time to really flesh out how to improve this. And I've heard you can't even have a lobby on consoles at all. I don't know if that's true 100%. I haven't tested it, but it does appear to be the case that in general, creating and joining games is a bit of a hassle on this platform currently. And then of course, you can manually search for them, of course, but it's just a rough existence. It's just a rough existence. Yeah, they had to write everything from scratch for sure, but it's just oh man, it's like I said, it's more Stone Age than the original Battle.net. This is the most Stone Age it gets. Manual clicking, not saved preferences, no buttons. Yeah, it's just they got some work on it for sure. There's definitely, it's just hard to find anything. Also, you can't even use a one-character password. What's up with this? Look at this. If I try to create a game, in the original game, you could just, it's up to you if you don't want your games that have high security, right? Look, I can't even create the game. The password must be empty or between 2 and 15 characters. What the I can't just... Yeah, I don't know. There's just some weird stuff going on. Alright. Channels, lobbies in general need work. Yeah, I just kind of talked about that. A lot of stuff there. Off-center potion buying. So, you can't buy potions like how you can in vanilla. There's actually a small difference between it. And because it's a little bit off-center, if you try to like just left-click and then buy them rapidly, you actually can't do it. You actually have to manually like scroll down every time you buy one. Now that being said, there's actually a way to buy potions even faster now. If you hold down shift and then just spam left click, you can actually just rapidly buy potions. So now there's like a new way to buy potions, so they actually changed buying potions. It's kind of weird, but I think it's kind of weird that you can't just buy them like the normal way. So it's kind of weird. That's kind of strange. Can't replace items in the shared stash. Okay, so this is actually really annoying to me. This is actually kind of frustrating. I love the shared stash, but this is a very primitive shared stash in some ways. I mean, there's definitely like other mods and whatnot that have a shared stash, at least in single player, like Pluggy. One thing you'll notice though is you cannot put an item over another item inside of the shared stash. So that means that I have to play advanced Tetris. Let's say I put all my items in the stash, right? Okay. So now I'm trying to fill up this stash, okay? Alright, now look, I got a Twitch throw. It's like I want to put the Twitch throw in and replace it with the charm, but I can't do that. Now, if I wanted to put the Twitch throw in the stash and keep everything in here, I have to like manually move these items around and try to play like I actually have to play real Tetris, like hardcore Tetris here. And then maybe I could fit in the Twitch throw. That's just really annoying stuff. Like, I feel like they could definitely make that possible to move stuff around without creating like duping scenarios. I think that might be what they're worried about is like duping and whatnot, but if other mods can do it and prevent duping, I think they can manage. I think this is possible. I don't think it's too much to ask there. It's kind of another thing is that if, let's say you have an item with a socket in the shared stash, I noticed you cannot socket the item. So you can't socket anything, you can't modify anything in the shared stash. Everything in the shared stash is like permanently where it is. Now obviously you can move them back here using some quality of life buttons, which I do like the quality of life buttons that they have. I feel like there could be more possibly, but you can't move anything out of there. It definitely feels a little weird to me. I mean, I don't know. All right. Anyway, small stuff there. Small stuff for sure. Really small mercenary portrait. So everything in Diablo 2 Resurrected has beautiful graphics, but one thing to note is that in some cases, some things are just too small. They could be skill graphics, which is what we're going to go over in a moment. It could be portraits of characters. It could be portraits of your team members. It could be portraits of your mercenary. It could be the indicator of the hostile. It could be whatever it is. It's just too small. It's very hard to see some of these things. Anyone that kind of like looked at the beta can kind of see. It's really hard to see some of this stuff. Putting items on your mercenary is actually kind of hard because you have to reach all the way to the top corner. I actually did not know that. Yes, that's actually kind of interesting. But there are some small changes, right? So we already know it's patch 1.15, so yeah. And that is a nice safety feature. I do believe so, but at the same time, like, you have to move the item to another location just to put a socket in it. I don't know. It's just more moving of items, right? But anyway, I don't know what to say about that. I just feel like maybe they could be way better. Anyway, small stuff. Small portraits. It's really tiny. I think they could be made slightly bigger and it wouldn't hurt the game. Everything is just really small. There's definitely a lot of small portraits. Some character skills are not defined enough. Hard to see in many cases. Okay, so there's actually a lot of examples of this. It could be anything from the Holy Freeze aura on the Paladin to Ice Blast to any bow arrow or any like a arrow skill, bow and arrow skill, bow and crossbow skill on an Amazon. It could be any of those cases. It's really hard to see the skill. The skill looks good if you squint at it really nice, and then you can look at it. But in a lot of cases, it can be very hard to see some of these skills. Some of these skills aren't well defined. I'd say most of the skills are well defined and they look really good, especially the fire skills. But I'd say, like, even Lightning Fury could use a bit more definition on the lightning itself. They could be a little thicker, a little bigger. In a lot of cases, they're just too small. The radius of the aura might be too small. The graphic for whatever it is just too small. It's like they almost need to upsize a lot of things in order for it to like really pop out, kind of like it does in vanilla. Like vanilla, the skills pop out really well. All of them do. I'd still say a vast majority do at D2R, and most of the skills are looking perfect and beautiful and everything. It's just that it's almost as if they need to do a pass over all the skills in the game and kind of think to themselves, all right, is this skill hard to see? In a lot of the cases, it's not, but in a pretty decent amount of cases, it is. It's really hard to see a lot of these skills. Poison Javelin's also kind of hard. I mean, I could give a lot of examples of this. There really are a lot of examples.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken
auras, they just lack definition. They're not big enough. There's something about they're not. In a lot of cases, they're not big enough. That's really what it is they're not big enough. They're just too tiny. The radius is too small around the character. Enchant kind of has this problem a bit. It's like the graphics are good on them. It's just they're not like they don't stand out enough. They don't do enough to stand out. It might just be that the game is too dark overall, but they maybe need to stand out more, especially in brighter areas. It's just inconsistent. It's really inconsistent. All right, some character designs. So I love all the monster designs, but I do think they improved the Amazon quite a bit, and she looks like a strong, independent woman. She's a strong lady. But overall, she still looks very different from vanilla, and it's kind of a pet peeve to me when, like, a barbarian or the Amazon look vastly different from the original character model. There's definitely some heavy differences still, and I think, at least to me, they're a little too different. Like, if I was making a remaster, I'd make sure to have, like, high model fidelity, high original model fidelity if I upscaled the graphics. And it's a little bit of a pet peeve that they're still very different, but at the same time, they don't look terrible. I mean, the Amazon looks like an Amazon. Her face might be a little too shrunken compared to the original model, but whatever. And, some other people might comment on other features. I'm not, going to hammer those. It's a video game. Ultimately, she'll still play the same. I can understand where they're going with it. They're looking for a stronger, more warrior-like Amazon, so I totally understand it. The Barbarian looks like maybe he had too many six-packs, whereas if you looked at his original model, he's a little too buff. Maybe there could be a bit of a middle ground somewhat. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of every character model, but I think in general they did a pretty good job. And the Sorceress actually looks amazing, I think, so, it just depends. I think they could have maybe done slightly better, but that's okay. I'm not the art team on D2R. I think it's okay. It's not like it's gonna affect my immersion in the game or anything. I feel like I'm playing the character, and they feel pretty awesome, and it's fun. I think my main thing though is like if I was trying to remaster a game, I would want as high a fidelity to the original graphics as possible, and some of that is lacking. And even if it was a little weird in the original graphics, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, obviously, in order to upscale the graphics, they might have had to take some liberties, but maybe in some cases they took too many, right? I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Have fun with that. Let me know what you think about any of these, by the way. It doesn't matter what it is, so. Alright, holding Alt, you can still interact with objects in the game. So this is actually really annoying, especially for players that want to optimize teleporting and not get stuck on objects when they're teleporting. There is a trick in the original game where if you could hold Alt while you're teleporting, you can actually avoid interacting with the objects. Now if you hold Alt and you're teleporting, you could still interact with doors and jars and stuff of that nature. That's not a good thing in my opinion. I think that was kind of a cool thing, kind of a cool extra feature in the original game, and they just straight up removed it. Make her look like Wonder Woman. Yeah. Robin Wright. Okay. You know, that's the other thing is, like, I feel like maybe, even though they vastly changed the character models, I know people in my chat are talking about this right now, I feel like they could have changed them, maybe just in other ways. I don't know. Some of these approaches aren't necessarily what I would have thought would have been great for remastering Diablo 2, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Some of them are really good, so like I said, I can't really complain too much. They've improved a lot of them since Alpha, like the Amazon especially, so it's definitely not looking horrible anymore. It's okay. It's okay. I still feel like, though, you know, it's not amazing in some regards. So holding Alt, though, is really bad. Alright, one thing I noticed that's kind of annoying, actually, is that in Legacy mode, let's say someone wants to play the game exactly how it was in the past. Not everything is exactly where it was. In some cases, there's, like, long text boxes. The buttons are kind of shrunken in. There's definitely some visual changes from the Legacy mode that do not exist in the original version of the game. There's some, like, pressed-in buttons for your skills. I don't know. There's some, like, weird-looking things. I think maybe they could clean it up and make it look a little bit more like the original Legacy mode. But for the most part, Legacy mode looks pretty much almost exactly how it looked. So there's just a couple of minor things that I feel like they could clean up Legacy mode a bit more. They could definitely use to do that. Interface locations. Okay, so I do not like how the position of the chat box. And I think everyone in my chat is going to say, yes, Dark Humility, that is absolutely the case. Because everyone's been saying it the whole time. Chat box is in a horrible location. They put it in a place where, and it's really tiny lettering, you can't even see it most of the time. And in the original game, it was prominent. It was at the top of the screen. You could see when someone entered and exited a game. It was easy to tell if someone hostiled you. There was a visual notification. There was a text notification. Now, everything is at the bottom, and it's really hard to see. You can't even move it, so there's actually no option to move the darn thing in the settings. So this is actually one of the settings that doesn't exist. There's actually a lot of good settings in D2R, but this is one of those things that doesn't exist at all. You can't move it. Yeah, it's got some weird... Yeah, it's got a gray line in the chat. It's got some really weird stuff going on. Not only is the chat not working a lot of the time, like I mentioned in the bugs segment here, but it's like... Oh, man. Like, And the words in the chat box are obscured by party portraits. Let's say you have a party size of 7 or 8. You can't even see the words sometimes because the party portraits are layered below the chat box. So you can't even see your party members, or you can't see the words in the chat box, you know. Pick your poison. So the layout in general, I feel like the UI is fine. The UI is actually pretty nice. I actually like the improved experience bar too, which is something I didn't mention in the good things. I really like a lot of that UI stuff they did. Maybe it looks a little different from like Diablo 2's stuff. It looks a little bit more like Bioshocky, maybe some of that like design, but that's okay. That's okay, because Bioshocky, I know. I'm bringing up a different game. If you don't know Bioshock, just look at the visuals from Bioshock. You'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, it looks good, but I feel like the layout is a little. I don't know. For the layout, I feel like, why fix what isn't broken? This is like one of my things I like to preach in general. Is that it's like, why did they fix what isn't broken? Why did they fix what isn't broken with the layout? They could have left the party portraits on top. They could have put your stuff on a second row, like your stuff, if they wanted to, including your mercenary. And they could have left the chat on the top. Like, if you switch to Legacy, it works just fine. But you go back to it, and it's like, I don't know, everything's on the side, the party portraits are on the side, they're hard to see, and then the chat's hard to see because it's layered on top of it. It's just like, man. It's like, why did they have to even play with it? I don't know. Like, they could have, like, saved themselves, like, probably 30 man-hours by not touching it, for the most part. I don't know. I don't know. It's just not a good thing. Right, exactly, Scott. You hate to see them spending time on things that weren't a problem and they come out even worse. Exactly. Exactly. You really hate to see it. And in that case, that's 100% the case. Right. Right, exactly. Other places that actually needed time. They could have literally left it the same, and no one would have cared. Yeah, the old character view. Yeah, right, 100%. Chat functionality is lacking. Yeah, I kind of talked about that in the bugs, but in general, like, you can't, like, you know, copy paste stuff. You can't, like, type to your friends, or at least it didn't appear like you could. So there's definitely stuff that either needs to be added in or just doesn't exist currently. Alright, this is actually something I really don't like. Password on the party screen. So there's no option to... You only have two options, which is to hide your game name and password or to not hide your game name and password. If you don't hide your game name and password, though, the password will show on the party screen itself, like the party screen where the party members are. I don't have a freaking clue why that's there. I have no idea. But that's two places where the password could be instead of one. So now if you wanted to block the password, or if you wanted the game name at least to show somewhere, now there's like two places where the password can be seen. I mean, that's fine, but I think maybe they should add a third option, maybe, to like take it out of the party screen. I don't know. Maybe there should be like another option to like also take it out of the party screen but have it listed on the top of the screen. I don't know. The password's just like in too many places. Can you limit FPS? I think you can from your computer, but not inside of the game. You can limit it. You can just limit your graphics card, right? You can with the NVIDIA control panel. Yeah, exactly. Not inside of the game though. Good question. All right. Sorry, I'm not answering all the questions. We're doing a video right now. I can get to your questions afterwards, though, if you still have them. And they're not related to what we're doing. Alright, no hostile or party sounds. So I talked about this in the bugs section, but there does appear to be a sound, but it's so inconsistent. This is so dangerous for hardcore, because there's actually been cases where someone's just all of a sudden started killing me, and I didn't even know they were hostile to me. I had no idea. and I just started dying, and I was like, why am I dying? And then I see, oh, there's a red player, and then there's this tiny portrait in the far right upper corner that has the hostile, you know, symbol with the skull and everything and the fire. And it's really hard to see because it's really transparent too. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That needs to be fixed before launch, I would say. Otherwise, people are gonna be majorly frustrated at that. That's pretty bad. And then one thing is, Deckard Cain cannot ID items inside of the cube. This is actually a pretty big deal because if you fill up your inventory with charms in the original game, and then you pick up items and you put them inside of your cube, the main way you would ID them without frustrating yourself or without reducing your charm efficiency is by using Cain. Cain would ID the items in the cube, and then you could drop them. That's no longer the case. Apparently, Deckard Cain is lost some of his mojo and can no longer ID items inside of the cube. That's a big deal when you have a full inventory. That's actually a really big deal. Because then now you have to like manually like open up the cube, and now you have to maybe carry tomes of ID and Town Portal, whereas before that was opposite. I mean, that was not opposite, sorry, it's optional, but now it's not optional. Now you actually have to have those tomes in there because Cain can't ID the stuff in the cube. Or you have to have them in your belt, which means there's more belt slots that are mandatory taken up by ID scrolls or something else. So, yeah, not a fan of that, not a fan of that. In general, though, I like how you can create tons and tons of characters. I believe you can create 20 total on an account, which is pretty neat. And, yeah, there's just, I don't know, there's so many good things we mentioned about D2R, so that's pretty much it for the major gripes, I would say. Like, there weren't many other major gripes, right? And, you know, that's pretty good looking at, you know, the fact that it's a beta and the fact that a lot of these things will be addressed before launch, almost certainly. I really didn't have any other, like, major gripes. I don't think anyone in chat ever mentioned any other, like, extremely concerning things about the game in general. But yeah, I mean, that's just good stuff. Alright, so now let's go into our final segment here, where, yeah, I mean, there's some things that are definitely, you know, we've definitely touched on some things, like some of the skills not working exactly the same. Yeah, we've touched on some things for sure. Let's kind of just, like, wrap this up here with the major concerns of myself and the community. So, there's no ladder. When ladder, and how will it be implemented? So, there's no ladder on launch, just to reiterate. They have announced. Blizzard has announced. Hey, what's up, Reverend? How you doing? There is no ladder on launch. So that means that when you first play the game, arguably it can't be insanely competitive. And in some sense, it's just another beta. I've been joking with my chat that, you know, the full game release beta, not 2 acts and 5 characters, but the full release beta drops on September 23rd. And that's really what it is. It's a full release beta. They know that there's going to be a lot of problems when they release it. They don't want to fool people into thinking that it can be a competitive, full functional ladder when they release the game. I think that's a fine decision. Because, you know, people get really frustrated at the fact that they take the week off from work or whatever, and then they actually can't actually play the game very much, or there's some serious issues and the game just plays like crap. Yes, that means non-ladder on launch, but remember, that also means that you have all the ladder items on launch. So that means that they allowed all the ladder functionality to be on non-ladder, and that includes on launch. So you don't have to worry about not being able to make ladder rune words or have ladder items. But that will be non-ladder on launch, yes. So it's going to be non-ladder on launch, and then they're going to release a ladder that you can then opt into later on. That seems to be the plan. I mean, it's a little rough in some sense that, like, you kind of just have to enjoy the game in the beginning. I think I might go hard anyway, and then I might just like go hard again, and then just like play another character. I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun for sure, but yeah, it's technically still a. I mean, it's not a beta. It is the release of the game, but I'm calling it a beta because in a sense it kind of is. It's a full release beta on September 23rd. Don't expect it to be fully functional for a few weeks after.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this.
Don't expect it to be fully functional until a few weeks go by. That's all I gotta say about that. I think that's totally reasonable. And yeah. And then releasing it later when it can actually be competitive, when they know the servers are stable and they know they've maybe prevented some major problems or they've seen some major problems crop up. You know, they could just address things, right? That's just good stuff. No. So any kind of characters on the beta are totally wiped before the release. All this hard work we did just to create content for you guys, it's gone. It's gone. It's just gone. No, it's gone. That's a good question. All right. Wait sale for game. Yeah, well, no. Alright. So, there's always other ideas too, like multi-boxing. I think they'll allow people to just create multiple versions of the game because they'll sell more copies. They allowed multi-boxing in the original Battle.net, but I do have to wonder how they'll deal with it on Resurrected. That is a concern. It's an idea. Multi-boxing, if you don't know what that is, it's running the same version of the game multiple times on the same computer or on different computers in order to load multiple characters into the same game to increase player count or for rushing or whatever. Muling not so much anymore because you can just use the shared stash, but yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. Who knows? All right. One thing I'm gonna say though, 100%, is I'm actually gonna be pretty upset if this is not the case. But this is kind of a concern of mine, right? I mean, these are concerns, right? Hopefully they don't make too many people upset with ladder. I honestly wouldn't mind with the ladder anyway, if they honestly delayed the ladder till Season 2 even, and just didn't have a ladder for Season 1, and we just went hard for fun on Season 1. But if they do want to implement it, hopefully they don't take too much time to do that, otherwise it's going to be like 2 ladders in the same ladder. So I am a little concerned about that, just to finish the whole ladder thing. We'll see what they end up doing. It's definitely a concern though. One thing I'm going to say though is one thing that's a major concern though. Yeah, first season, just full PvP, just mess around. I mean, I don't see why that's a problem. I mean, they can kind of test things. They can kind of learn more about how to run their games. So I wouldn't think that would be a horrible thing. I don't feel like I need ladder necessarily to go to 99 and have fun in the game and make characters. Like, I don't feel like that's necessary. But some people might be upset about that, so who knows. Alright, anyway. They better have hardcore, all characters.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this.
And all acts upon release. I'm going to go on record and say that if they don't have all acts, all characters, and hardcore and softcore mode, which, by the way, hardcore mode does not currently exist in beta, so it's definitely something that I have to be a little concerned about. If they don't have those things on release, that is going to be janky. And there's definitely some concerns. You see how many different bugs they went over. You see how many different interface problems and otherwise they are having. That's a lot of work. I'm a little concerned that when they release it, it's not going to be finished enough. And if that's the case, it's definitely going to be a rough, at least, week, if not 2 weeks, if not a month. Which is whatever. I mean, you just got to expect it to be a rough ride, and that might be actually the case. I'm actually expecting it to be a little rough. So, I don't know. I gotta say, though, if they don't have at least all the full functionality of the game that is playable, of the full playable game, so that we can at least test it as a beta on release, a full release beta, as I'm calling it, that's not going to be good. It's going to make for a very slow, painful grind. So I can only hope they can pound out the rest of this before September 23rd. I'm one of those people that, I mean, I know some people might give me some dislikes or might hate this comment, but I'm one of those people that would rather them delay the game than release the game too unfinished, right? Obviously, they can release the game without every mode of functionality. Obviously, they can release it with bugs because that's going to happen no matter what. But, like, I would rather them, like, spend the time to freaking get it right, you know? Don't release it and then have it finally working 2 years later like every other AAA title that comes out in the universe these days. Screw that crap. Screw that crap. No. Okay, so I really hope that's not the case. I mean, the game is playable. I'm going to say right now that I love the game and it's 100% playable. It definitely is in a playable state, so that's a good sign. But it's maybe barely in a playable state. So they really need to raise that bar fast. And there's definitely a lot of stuff going on with it that makes me think that it needs a lot of work. I would rather them. I'm one of those people who'd rather them, though, if they needed 4 months, I would give them 4 months as someone that really wanted to play this. That really wants to play this right now. I would give them 4 months. Just get those 4 months, fix the stuff that you found, and release a solid game. You can even release it with ladder if you want, if you feel confident enough after enough testing. But, my goodness, just do not release it and have a complete disaster, please. That's just, it'd be so frustrating to everyone who wants to see this game succeed. And it's going to be frustrating to new players. There's going to be players that will never come back to this game again after having such a garbage experience. Even though this is an amazing game and we want people to experience this timeless classic, the best ARPG ever made in the best possible format. So I really don't want to see that. That's very important. Alright, so another major topic of discussion in the community are things like botting and trade sites. They have said they're not going to release their own trade site, which means that I'm going to say right here, just straight up, you guys all know it's true. This is not a promotion. This is just saying it how it is. D2JSP, this is also D2JSP Resurrected, alright? This is not just Diablo 2 Resurrected. Alright, it is what it is. People are going to trade on there. People are going, it's very efficient to trade on there. It's more efficient than any means of trading, any means of barter trading. People are going to want to use that currency, the foreign gold. They're going to use it. 100%. It is what it is. It's what's going to happen. People are concerned about it. All I got to say is that even if that site did not exist or other sites didn't exist, that sell items and whatnot, other people would make sites that are similar because there is no official Blizzard trade site anywhere or currency system in the game besides runes. People, I'm sure, will be using rune currency. I'm sure that will exist, but it's always going to be more efficient to just... people are always going to haggle over what runes they want in a trade, but you never have to haggle over a foreign currency, right? It's always the same amount every time, and it's always going to have an advantage. So I'm just going to say that I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but it is what it is. One thing that could make it a bad thing, though, is that if Blizzard does not address botting. I know Blizzard has a poor track record with this, especially with old Battle.net and with World of Warcraft and other things in Classic WoW. Alright, if there is botting, and mass cheating, and mass duping allowed to occur, that is when sites like D2JSP are going to totally run roughshod over the economy, and flatten anyone who wanted to make any kind of gains with trades. Just forget about it. Unless you have a 100% perfect item, you're never going to compete with bots. You could farm all day, manually farming Mephisto just to find that one Arachnid's Mesh, and it's going to be worth an Ith rune because, you know, well, I mean, I'm being a little dramatic, but you get the point, you know. It's like, there are going to be so many of them out there because the bots just totally oversaturate the economy, and then regular players that try to get excited about trading a really cool item are not going to be able to experience it without botting themselves. And that's what happened with old Battle.net, and that's why there are hardly any actual human players on there, because Why would you play that game as a human when you're just wasting your time? The only way to play that game is to bot and trade and then PvP if you have some downtime, because that's what they've done in the economy. You can play solo self-found as well, but that's even better on single player, especially with the plugin mod. You could have played, you could play group self-found, but once again, I'd say group self-found or playing in a group is probably the best part about old Battle.net, so long as you completely ignore trading and you ignore bots. So you just only use the items or group found. That's about it. So if they don't want to limit the ways that people are going to enjoy D2R, they're definitely going to want to be aggressive with cheaters. I know that's tough because a lot of these people want to make money. They want to make millions off of Diablo 2 items. There's a lot of money in this. There really is. Whether or not D2JSP existed or not, like I said, something similar would. There's item sites that have always existed. Lots of money in it. And they gotta be aggressive. They have to be aggressive. They may have to make it at least tough to cheat. Cheating, of course, I'd be very surprised if it could be totally eliminated. But, they gotta make it tough to actually, they gotta make it hard. They gotta make them struggle. They gotta make them constantly have to rebuy copies. If they just leave it, as it is, the status quo cheating years on end or months and months on end, this game is going to be given over to automation, and people aren't going to actually want to play with their friends and play the game as it is intended. So that's very important stuff. A very big concern of mine and other people. Some people don't think it could be done. Some people think the botting is inevitable, and it's just inevitable. It's going to get overrun by bots. I really hope that's not the case, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's clear why people cheat. Some people don't have time. They just care about PvP. They don't care about, PvE. But if you really want a robust game with many different ways to play it and a lot of fun ways to play it, especially online, that is what they're going to want to do. All right, Alright, so yeah, I already talked about should they delay the launch. It's possible that they should. Based on my assessment, it seems like there's just a lot of stuff they still have to do, but at the same time, if they can fix the major ones, they could still launch the game in a full release beta mode, as I was talking about before, and that's pretty much what's going to happen on September 23rd, almost certainly, at the very least. Alright. My position in general on major game changes, so there's a lot of people in the community that want new content, new acts, stuff from mods like Worldstone Chars, different inventories, a lot of stuff like an infinite shared stash. Some things might even be impossible. Everyone always wants to augment the game and improve it in 50,000 different ways. Improve the items, rebalance everything. Make private loot. No, do not do that. No private loot. I'm telling you right now, I will be the biggest voice against private loot ever. All right. Well, anyway, let's kind of talk about where I stand on that real quick. So real quick, I feel like if they wanted to make some minor balance changes to some items, to some skills, maybe to some monsters, I'd be cool with that. Because I feel like, this game, even though it's a masterpiece, it doesn't have perfect balance. No game ever does. There's definitely skills that nobody uses, and there's items nobody uses. At the very least, they could buff those, and then they could leave all the other items that are strong, or skills that are strong, and they can leave them alone. Anyway, there's a lot of bad ideas out there, though. So this game is a masterpiece. It's supposed to be remastered. So it's supposed to be brought back to life, but not fundamentally modified or changed into a different game. This is what mods are for. This is what other games are for. Diablo 2 is unique in that it brings so many different concepts together to the point that there's so many different ways to play the game. Solo self-found, group self-found, trading, just PvP, everything. There's so many different things you could do. You could do low-level dueling. You could do challenges like the Holy Grail. There's just so many ways to play the game. And once you start doing some of those things, you start stripping some of those things away, and it's part of the experience to have shared loot. You know, it's part of that group experience of everyone seeing the same items drop. That's like part of the game. And it's part of why people really love the game, because it's a shared experience. Obviously, it's a frustration if you don't get to pick up the item that you really wanted, but you could always play alone. You could even farm a different area in a game with other people, and you can still get the player count. And you don't have to farm the same area, and you can get individualized loot. That's how you get individualized loot. I really think that's something that belongs in a different game or in a mod. And things like expanded inventory, once again, it changes how you play the game. I think that belongs more in a mod. Corruption, you know, like with a World Stone Shard or something, like from Project Diablo 2, that belongs in that mod, or a similar mod, right? These are concepts that do not belong in the original game. They just don't. Like maps, they don't belong in the original game. These are things that are part of other games or brought into mods. And that's why the modding community is so robust. And that is why we have a strong modding community, because there's so many fun things you can add to the game, but at the same time, the vanilla experience is so robust by itself, and it allows for so many ways to play the game by itself, and it's so unique by itself, you really don't want to touch it. You think you might want to touch it, you think it's going to improve the game, but when it comes to the vanilla base game, you really don't want to do it. This is a message to the community: don't do it. Don't push those things in the base game. These are things for the original game. You want it to remain as close to the original game as possible. Some bug fixes, maybe some small balance changes, like I said, that I would support. I would definitely support some of that stuff. It's fine, as long as the game still plays the same.
I can already tell that I'll be your
important.
best friend in this forsaken camp.
Alright. And then, alright, so the last major point of major concern from the community that we need to go over is allowing mods or allowing hard coding. So there is soft coding mod support, which means you can tweak some numbers, but you can't have private servers. They're not going to allow that. They're not going to allow basically they're not going to allow like Project Diablo 2 or Median XL or a lot of popular mods do, and they fundamentally change the code and create awesome masterpieces out of this masterpiece, and they create their own like version of the masterpiece. You can't really do that. You can tweak the numbers a bit, but why bother with that when they can just balance the game, or they can improve the balance themselves if they really want to. I don't know. Right now it feels like modding is dead on arrival for Diablo 2 Resurrected. There's many reasons this could be. It could be for copyright purposes. It could be to protect their game from cheating, which is why they might have removed TCIP. It's definitely a rough scene. I think that at some point, maybe they're not ready for it because there's so many other things they're worried about right now, just trying to have a clean base launch of the game, which is maybe something that they should do first. But I think at some point they really need to introduce the ability to have these kinds of things. Maybe even build it into the Battle.net launcher itself. You know, validate the mods, vet the mods, and then allow access to the mods upon purchasing the original copy of the game, and then allow people to access them from the Battle.net launcher itself. And then no one makes money off of them. People just, they make all the money. They still get all the money. They sell more copies because there's really cool mods. Even Project Diablo 2 D2R could be on their launcher. If they really want it to be, they could do it. And then they could have the awesome graphics and everything would be good. That's my idea. Alright, I really think they could do that. I don't think that hurts them. I don't think that hurts their copyright either. I think they can keep it all under control by doing that. They could have it all accessible from their own launcher. They could literally just do it that way. They can work with mod creators to create it within their launcher, and then they can have them vetted by, you know, one team member on the team that, you know, can vet these things and be like, all right, is that a mod that is worthy of this game? Is this a good mod? Does it have high quality? Is it garbage? No, then we're not going to put it on there. You know, the people actually have to make good mods, right? So it's like, yeah, I could understand that, and that's not a bad idea. I think that would be a great thing for them to do, and then they can have full control over it, and they can only allow access to those mods upon, and the vanilla base game upon, of course, you know, someone actually purchasing the game from their launcher, and then they have the same thing. I don't see why they can't do that. I think it might take a lot of work, but I really feel like they should consider it. And then they have full control over it. They have full control over the anti-cheat too, if they want. They can do whatever they want. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the future is looking like, but right now it's looking, at the moment, right now, there's not a future for it as of now. Obviously, no matter what, I'm still going to, you know, on off-ladder periods, I'm still going to want to play like Project Diablo 2, because it's such an insane mod. Despite the lack of graphics, to me, it doesn't affect me too much, but it would be cool to see it, right? It'd be cool to see a mod so good as that one, to like see updated graphics. Like that would be insane, right? And I think that would, I feel like it would sell them way more copies of the game if people could actually make high quality mods and also access them from the base game as well. I think that would actually increase their sales, especially their long-term sales, if they can build that into the game somehow. It might make it to where this game has, I wouldn't say a short shelf life, but a shorter shelf life if they do not allow that in some way, shape, or form. Simply because people will get bored with it because it's still the game they played. I mean, they'll have the nostalgia. When the nostalgia wears off, though, well, they might look towards the mods that are based on old Battle.net, and they'll be like, well, those graphics aren't great. So it's like, if you really want Diablo 2 to survive and thrive into the future, it might be the way to do it. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. I think D2R has a future no matter what, but it would be so much more robust if they just considered that for sure. You do have to like D2 for what D2 is. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So that's it. Here's my conclusion. Here's the culmination of my analysis. This is the readout. All right. This is it. All right. This is my opinion on D2R and the launch and everything all together. Kind of my overall assessment of this. As a long-time Diablo 2 player, has played over 30,000 hours in this game, played the Holy Grail, finished the Holy Grail, made every rune word in the game, done everything in the game. I gotta say, this is looking really good. Overall, this is looking really good. Maybe not from the very beginning. I'm a little skeptical at that, but I'm thinking as long as they can hammer it through and continue to support this game all the way through it, it's looking really good. It's very playable. It's looking amazing. The graphics are amazing. Everything's amazing about it. As long as they can support the community more in the future as well, it's all looking amazing. I think that some people ask me, Dark Humility, is this worth $40? You could spend $40 on some sushi, some steak, in a single night of eating. But I'll say, if you want to play a masterpiece of a game with this high quality of graphics and quality of life and all the other features and global servers and everything else they added into the game, and you want a long-term addiction to the best ARPG ever created, in my opinion, this is 100% worth $40 in my mind. As a content creator, I would have paid $400 for it. But of course, you know, anyone else, I would say $40, absolutely. As long as you love Diablo 2 and you see the worth of the game for what it is. If you're a little skeptical about it, I hope you're able to play the beta, so you're able to try it at least to see, if you've never played Diablo 2, to see how cool of a game it is, at least to some extent. And I hope you buy it, and you know, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I'm not paid by Blizzard to say this. I'm not shilling for them or anything. This is just, I literally just laid out all my thoughts. That's it. I mean, I gotta go no matter what. But anyway, I got it no matter what. So, you know, I got access to the closed and the open beta no matter what. It doesn't matter. All I gotta say is, like, The paid actor. Yeah, some people think that though. Some people think that. All I gotta say is that this is a great version of the game. They clearly spent tens.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this
The
forsaken
work
camp.
into the artwork, into everything in the game alone is worth the $40. Just that. They spent so much work on it. It's just double the price of the original game. That's not that bad. It's just $20 more, and they spent a ton of time on this. Like, I think that's worth it. I don't think they're overcharging. Maybe a little bit, you can argue, you know, maybe it could have been 30, but, you know, that's splitting hairs a little bit. I think it's 100% worth more than the original game, which is 20. And, I don't think they charge too much. Charging too much might have been charging like 60, which is how much they charge for like AAA games, anywhere from like $60 to $80 now, and that would have been too much, right? But you know, it's not that bad. There's definitely a lot of bugs they have to work out. I'm definitely very, you know, skeptical to get enough of them worked out by launch, but just expect it to be a full release beta. Don't expect the game to be free of bugs when it comes out. And just stick with it as long as they're willing to update it and patch it regularly and get it going. This is looking amazing. This is looking good. You gotta buy Diablo 2 again, man. You gotta do it. I think it's worth it. I think, yeah, even after going over all those bad things and maybe going over all those concerns, I think it's gonna be amazing no matter what. That being said, all those concerns, all those bugs, all those gripes, if they persist, they will wear down the game. They will. And I can only hope that this game's gonna go strong, you know, right? You know, I can only hope they'll aggressively, you know, attack cheaters at every opportunity and try to stay ahead in the arms race between them and the botters. I can only hope. I can only hope they got it locked down enough to give themselves enough time and to make it difficult. I can only hope they you know, fix enough of the bugs to where it's functional on console and on PC. I know on console it's even more buggy than on the PC, so I can only hope, you know. I can only hope. Anyway, that's it. You know, that's it. www.twitch.tv/darkhumility if you want to catch the action on hardcore. We are going to be playing hardcore even when it's not ladder. Right when the game launches, you can catch the action on my stream here. I play D2R, PD2, and vanilla. Mostly hardcore, especially online, but we have some softcore content as well. I love my softcore community. Feel free to hang out if you're playing softcore. Don't care. Actually, I'm not a hardcore elitist or anything. I actually love softcore in a lot of ways. You could go hard. You don't have to worry about it. And it's just stress-free. And you don't have to worry about internet issues. There's just so many good things about both of them. But anyway, I play hardcore. I love hardcore. I love the extra challenge. And I'll see you guys there. And also check out all of our build guides on Maxroll. Myself and my team. Maxroll launched. Maxroll is amazing. Definitely check out Maxroll's website. OP stuff. Absolutely. And it's just...
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken
make sure to type maxroll.gg or d2.maxroll.gg. Amazing website, amazing build guides, everything you could possibly want to know about D2R, or the original game D2, is there. All kinds of levels of guides for all levels of players at all points in the game. I've made a lot of those guides myself, so I'm very much proud of it, so yeah, check that out. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed this review, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I will see you guys around for more fun stuff. Let's go. D2R. Come on. Blizzard, let's push this! Vicarious Visions did such an amazing job with the art. Push it forward. Push it forward. Go strong. I gotta regain my faith in you guys. You gotta help this, man. You gotta try. You gotta try something. All right. Otherwise, I don't know what to think, man. Because this is a great start right here. This is a great start. All right. I'll see you guys later. Let's go. All right. See you guys next time. Good night. Good day. Good morning. Good evening. And Dark Humility over and out.